hope it works better this time.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to Weekly Wellness with Miss K and Dr. D. I'm Miss K, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker here in Indianapolis.
And I'm Dr. D, and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist here in Indianapolis.
And thanks for joining us this week.
We have another guest contributor.
We do have a guest contributor again. If you happen to catch our show a couple weeks ago, we had a guest contributor, Dr. Mr. Professor Points.
Yeah.
And he's here with us again this week. Actually had a lot of feedback from some of the viewers that they just were so inspired by some of the input he had for our topic, and so we decided to invite him back. It was kind of many requests for his input again. So welcome back, Dr. Mister.
And he's incredibly busy, so we're blessed, really.
And he looks pretty tired right now, but apparently seen countless clients today.
Countless.
So that's why he's pretty exhausted.
Yeah.
But what a privilege for him to donate his time to the Weekly Wellness
I don't
program.
know that he actually asked to be paid. He asked to be paid.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, it wasn't a
I
donation.
didn't know that.
It's not a donation.
No problem.
It's not
I didn't know that.
donation.
Okay.
It's all right. All
Okay.
right. Yeah.
So this week,
So we were supposed to talk about something, and then we're not now.
yes, we had originally. We had originally planned
To talk about being present.
right what it is to be present.
Right. And how not to get in your own way.
Exactly, which is a very important topic,
Valuable
which will be addressed perhaps next week. Then.
I think that sounds like a great topic for next week.
I think that's a great topic for next week. We, as kind of a follow-up to last week when we discussed how to know when it's time to reach out to get some professional help for yourself and mental health issues that you might be dealing with yourself. As kind of a follow-up, we decided, and we also had a few requests for this, to talk about how to cope with and deal with a family member, a loved one,
with chronic mental illness.
right, who is dealing with some kind of
Chronic
serious
mental
health condition.
illness, yeah.
And so that's why we decided to address that this week.
And so that can be all kinds of things. So that could be a major depressive disorder.
Right.
It could be an anxiety disorder. It could be schizophrenia. It could be any kind of level of psychosis. It could be hoarding. It could be addiction, because there's a lot of families deal with addiction of all different kinds.
Right. And so, and I think, I find it just in my own experience that most people, if it's not you yourself that has a loved one with some kind of a condition, everybody knows somebody in almost everyone's family, really.
Yeah.
If you think about it, somewhere in your family,
Somewhere, yes.
might not be immediate family, but cousin, aunt, uncle is dealing with some kind of mental health condition or addiction issue. So this is something that really all of us on some level will come in contact with and experience.
Because what is it? What's the statistic? 1 in 20?
So, they're saying 1 in 25 Americans has a serious mental health condition. And in any given year, only about 60% of those people actually are available, or actually are able to take advantage of mental health services that are available. So that leaves family members having to deal with sometimes untreated mental illness, and even treated mental illness can be a very difficult thing to deal with for the family members.
Right, because it doesn't exist in a vacuum. A mental illness affects everybody in the family on some level. It affects, it affects schedules, it affects emotions, it affects vacations, it affects holidays, it affects just family time, everything, and anything you can think of.
Absolutely. And so you're dealing with, your not only family members, coworkers, and friends, and community, neighbors. People are all dealing with this issue when that issue is present.
But even though if there's so many people that this affects, oftentimes when we're dealing with somebody in our family that has a chronic mental illness
Mm-hmm.
is very isolating. We end up feeling very, very alone, even though there's lots of folks
Yes.
out there that are dealing with
In
it.
the exact same circumstances.
There's a lot of stigma around it, and it doesn't feel comfortable to go say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you know, I'm dealing with my spouse who is suffering with major depressive disorder, and he or she can't, you know, can't hold a job, or
Right.
you know, we have addiction in the family, and we don't know, I don't know what to do about it, and I need resources, I need support. It's hard to even ask for those.
It is still, it's getting a little better over time, but there's still this discomfort that people have about bringing up mental health issues. You might be much more inclined to say, oh, my wife is, you know, was diagnosed with cancer, and we're dealing with all of those medical issues, and be much more comfortable talking about that than if she was bipolar and was dealing with a manic episode. So there's still that stigma, but we just, you know, communication obviously is a huge part of helping families to feel more comfortable and to be more successful in coping with someone with a mental illness
Yes.
in your
Truth.
family. So yes, you're not alone, but
you're
it
not
can feel
alone.
extremely isolating.
Isolating.
And so with that in mind, we've kind of have our 3 tips, our weekly 3 tips that we have figured out might be the most important when to kind of focus on when having to deal with and
Someone with a chronic
with
mental illness.
that. Yeah. And so
Number 1,
well,
team up
team up,
and educate.
team up and educate yourself, and we'll come back and talk in more
about
detail
that.
about that. Number 2, support systems.
Support systems.
Having support in dealing with that situation.
Yeah.
And not letting life revolve around
mental
that
illness.
person's
Yeah.
mental illness. And number 3, safety.
Safety and security.
Safety and security.
Yes.
So those are the 3 tips.
Right.
And let's start with educating yourself.
Educating yourself. Yeah.
So
first thing is, if you have a family member who is receiving services, is getting mental health support, which, you know, is the best case scenario, asking for permission from your family member to be a part of their treatment. So you want to, if you can be comfortable with that, and get permission from your family member to talk with their therapist.
Right.
To kind of join in, you know, not every time, but occasionally, to add collateral information, add additional support, to be a part of the treatment, because the going to the therapist is just, you know, it can just 1 hour typically. It may just be 1 hour once a week. It may not even be that often. And so to be as involved as possible in the goals and what's trying to be achieved with therapy, then what you can do is you can kind of bring some of those strategies home,
Right.
and hopefully be able to help out as much as possible as a team member.
because that collaboration is so important to being able to assist that loved one, and having everybody kind of be on the same page. And again, it's really important as when we're sort of focusing a little bit more on an adult loved one with a chronic mental health condition. So we do need to ask their consent to be able to speak to their doctors, and so that's really important, which would be a little different than having a child with a mental condition. So we do need to ask for that support, just so we can all collaborate, be on the same page, and also when a diagnosis is made for a loved one, very important to educate yourself about that diagnosis.
What to expect,
what that means, what that is, what treatments are available as far as psychopharmaceutical options, and all the things that come with that diagnosis. And definitely knowing what to expect.
Just to be so you're on the same page and you're working toward the same goals.
Yes, and so educating yourself so you know what's going on, hugely important.
Yeah.
And
so that taking that on as an adult, but also making sure that as a supportive adult in this situation, that you're not expecting children to be on that same level of support. And what I mean by that is kids need to be allowed to be kids as much as humanly possible, and that can be very complex if you have an adult in the house who has a chronic mental health issue. So trying your best to be the main support system and not requiring adult level support from kids that have their own issues, just being kids.
Right, exactly. So getting that cooperation from other adults and adultish members of the family.
Yeah.
So again,
trying to shield the kids as much as possible.
Right.
It's likely not realistic to expect that this child is going to be completely unaware that something's going on. Probably they will be, but to the best of your ability, being able to allow them to be kids and not have to deal with the difficulty and the emotional upheaval of the chronic mental health issue.
Right. And like we were talking about with as far as educating and educating yourself and other family members, being able to bring other family members, give them responsibilities, help to educate them about what's going on, and be just sort of reducing that stigma by communicating with everybody and communicating with children as to what's going on, but again, not asking them to take on the responsibilities of like, oh, make sure daddy doesn't, whatever. Yeah. Whatever the situation is, just not giving them adult responsibilities when it comes to caring and helping this person.
Yeah, as much as possible. Yeah. So number two.
Number 2.
Which is?
Support.
Yeah. So in that same vein, so if you're talking about reaching out, communicating, making sure you're on the same team, as a support person, you need support. So if you're the one who's in the trenches really trying to help out this family member, this loved one, you need to make sure that you're getting the kind of support that you need. And that may be through other family members, that may be through a faith community, that may be through support groups, that can be through a whole host of sources. But to really know that your mental health is incredibly important, particularly as a caregiver. And it brings up a patient of mine who is dealing with her own mental health issues, and on top of that, she also has cancer, and she was going to her adult daughter, for a lot of support. And adult daughter has her own stuff going on, and between her dealing with her own stuff and then mom's mental illness and mom's cancer, the relationship was falling apart. Yeah. So the mother and daughter weren't even able to really communicate. And it was important for the mom to then say, okay, I want you just to be my daughter. Right. I want you just to be the person that I love, that we go hang out, that you can be supportive of me, I can be supportive of you. But as far as my cancer diagnosis, as far as my major depression, I'm going to seek other resources for that. And she did, and she's involved in other support groups, and that's been incredibly beneficial to the daughter.
And to that relationship. To make sure that remains a healthy, pleasant relationship that's fulfilling for both people.
But imagine if mom hadn't had the forethought to do that, and so daughter's taking on all of this stuff from mom, she would really need support from outside. Yes. Right? She would really need to go and find people who can help her and build her up and listen to her talk about all the struggles that she's incurred. Because we can only take on so much, right? We're only human.
Right. And like you were saying the other day, when you have maybe this primary caregiver role in helping a family member dealing with a chronic mental illness, your life can get out of control without you even knowing it. Without you even knowing that it's happening.
All of a sudden you turn around and everything you do revolves around that illness.
And that person and how they're doing, and all of a sudden life is no longer yours. You no longer are enjoying the things that you used to do for yourself,
Right.
and so that can happen, like, you know, without
Right.
you even knowing
Without
it,
you even
and
realizing it.
right, as you're investing so much time and energy in that other person. So
And that can happen for the whole family. So if dad is the primary caregiver and partner is the one with the mental illness, it can happen that, you know, everybody's entire, and kids included, everybody becomes kind of sucked into this mental illness, and everybody is trying to do for this mental illness, right? Trying to fix things for this parent. And it can happen just without even realizing
Right.
it. And the idea is, yes, a lot of our energy is going to be taken up by this because we love this person, we want better for this person, but how do we also get outside resources involved so we do have a break, so we have
Right.
some respite, so the kids can go be kids, so you can go to the grocery without having to run home to make sure that the partner hasn't hurt him or herself.
exactly.
Though, you know, it's just important to realize that as a caregiver you deserve that.
Right. And I think another thing that we were talking about is, as a supportive family member, you need to be able to sort of to express that support out loud,
Yeah.
remembering that you cannot fix this person. But what you can do is give your ongoing verbal
Verbalized,
encouragement,
yeah.
verbalized support. I'm sorry that you're going through this. I'm here to help you.
Yeah, I love
I
you.
want to help. I love you. This isn't your fault.
I want this to be better for you. I'm on your side.
You know, we're not giving up. You shouldn't
Right.
give up.
Let's
This
not
there
give
is
up.
this
Yeah.
doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be this bad forever.
Right. But it's not your job to fix it.
But it is not your job, and it's not
Yeah.
in your capability to fix this situation. So kind of having an understanding of that, and not taking on this role of someone that's supposed to fix this person's life and change everything back to normal, because, you know, very often with a chronic mental health condition, things are never going to maybe go back to the way they were prior to the diagnosis, but
to verbalize your support.
it sounds like, oh, sorry, doctor, did you, I thought he had something to say. I thought he had something to say.
He's
So
just choking.
he's just coughing. So yeah, that's important. Number 3,
Safety and security.
safety and security.
Yeah.
Depending on the nature of the loved one's mental condition,
Yeah.
there may be some concerns with not only that individual's safety, but other family members' safety,
Yeah.
your safety.
If the
when it
person's
comes to
volatile, or particularly with addiction or with some
like any psychotic
any
issues.
kind of any kind of psychotic disorders, the person may be volatile, unexpectedly volatile, and it's important that everybody who deals with this person is aware of kind of the safety plan.
Right.
And I kind of think of that as if you live in an area that experiences tornadoes or hurricanes, oftentimes you have a safety plan that everybody knows about, right? Everybody knows about it. They know
Right.
how to execute it. They know what to expect.
They've talked about it repeatedly. They reviewed
Yes.
it.
And so
It's part of their
there are some
thinking.
mental health conditions that need to be kind of treated like, you know, a hurricane or a tornado, and let's make sure that everybody knows what they're supposed to do. Where are the phone numbers that need to be called if something acute occurs?
Right.
Where are the safe places in the house? Where are the safe neighbors to go to? This is particularly important for children who don't have another safe adult that lives in the house. You know, where do we go to be safe, and where do we go to help our family member get safe?
Right.
If they're not.
And right, so those contact numbers, those important people
Yeah.
that are involved with the individual's
Care
treatment
and
plan,
treatment,
care and medications and all that kind of stuff. So all those important numbers and people that everyone knows about and
Yep.
knows how to have access to and knows how to get in touch with when a crisis comes up.
Yeah.
So just
Exactly.
making sure all of that's really clear for all family members.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all the people that care about this loved one, and want to be there to support them. And
It almost looked like Professor Mr. Points wanted to say something that I
well, I'd like to, you know what, I'd like, in just a moment, I'd like to actually come back to him. I wanted to just bring up again, just to reiterate, families where there are small children, like you had said before, just to make sure that, and if it is your family or if it is your cousin's family or whatever, and that there are small children in the home with an adult with a chronic mental health condition, to make sure that there's always a plan, that's a priority, is what the plan is for that the children in the house. So very, very important.
Somewhere safe to go if something big should happen, and a safe place, a safe neighbor. There should always be a safe neighbor identified, and a way of contacting that person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and you had also mentioned one time that something that you had read about a child. Well, it was in a book that you read.
So it was a book that was written, and it was heartbreaking, but I think it was a really necessary book, because I think it happens more often than we even think about. It was a book written for a child. So it was a children's book, and it was about a little boy who lived with his schizophrenic mother, and he lived alone with her. And so the idea was that in this book, he knew that he needed to have a safe place to go, so he would go hide in his closet. He had a phone in there, so he would call his grandma.
Right.
And he always had snacks in there, so he knew that if mom became unstable, he knew that there was something for him to eat, and he had a safe person to call.
Right.
And if things really unwound, then grandma could come
right.
and fetch him. But I thought that was profound. It was a wonderful book, and it's heartbreaking, but incredibly helpful, because those things happen.
Yes.
Right? Those things
and
happen.
we don't even know that they're going on necessarily.
Right.
But creating that network of support and collaboration with all those people that are there to assist, and communicating with all of those people and having them nearby and having them available, hugely important.
Absolutely.
Particularly when it comes to children.
Yeah.
So, I just want to say I've been repeatedly kicked in the groin tonight by Dr. Mister. I have no problem with it. I am so honored to have him here. But I do want to check in, kind of turn the floor over to Dr. Mister Professor Points, just to get his input. Do you want to
say something?
Direct?
Well, I mean, I guess we could.
I just want to give him an opportunity, because we talked quite a lot. Dr. Mister Professor, is there anything else that you want to add? Have we gone over everything to your liking?
He looks exhausted. It makes me wonder how many patients he actually saw today. I mean, look, he's just stretched out completely.
He's a larger gentleman.
I don't know.
But yes, thank you. I mean, yes, I just wanted to give him an opportunity to, if he wanted to add anything. It sounds like we've covered most things,
right?
Or he would have for sure added something.
He asked for like $250 for this appearance tonight.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that, and that's no problem. Yeah. I think that's no problem.
It was a little more than I was wanting to spend, really. Particularly since he honestly hasn't really added a whole hell of a lot. But that's all. I mean,
$250.
$250.
But you know what? When you're at his level, when you're way up here, you can do that, and you can expect that. You can expect to be accommodated.
Okay.
And I have no problem with that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it seems a bit much. But.
Well, it is $250, but I've had the pleasure, and this may seem strange, but I've had the pleasure of being able to rub Dr. Mister Point's rubbery tummy this entire talk.
Yeah.
So that to me, that's worth $250.
Well, it can come out of your pocket then.
Yeah. This is right here. Rubbing this little rubber tummy right there.
Oh, Mr. Points.
Anyway, thank you everybody for joining us this week. Thank you again, Dr. Mister Professor Points. Thank you for being here with us. Again, thank you for all your input. And please join us next Thursday, where I believe we will be talking about what it means to be present,
and not a present.
Not to be a present,
Right.
but to be present.
To be present.
And what that means.
Available.
Not living in the past, not freaking out about the future,
Right.
but being right here,
Right now. Right. Getting kicked in the groin.
And getting kicked in the groin
By
by
a giant greyhound.
giant mental health professional. Oh, he's such a good boy. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Night.
Bye. Goodbye.